Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Mark Carroll. I'm one of the league directors for ASA, and I wanted to walk through how to do the score sheet for this spring season. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. If there are any questions, please do reach out to me or any of your league directors, but we would love to help you make sure that you're doing this right. So the first thing that's very important is across the top, we make sure that you have your team name listed here. It's always great also to add in your actual ID code. That way it makes it very easy to enter those scores. So 6B11 in this particular instance is 6th grade boys. We're team number 11. My team is the Allen Irish, and so we've got that listed here. I always also do put in who we're playing, the location of the game, Boone Elementary School, the date, 3/26/22, and it's the 8 p.m. game. The other thing that's important when you're scorekeeping is making sure that the referee has checked the coach's badges. So I just put a little tick mark there and add to that as we go. There's a couple of very important things that the coaches need to have done by the time that they get there. Most importantly, it is that every one of the numbers of the players are filled out in numerical order. This makes it very easy for the scorekeeper to be able to take score and be able to quickly find each one of the numbers of the people that either committed a foul, scored a point, called a timeout, whatever the case may be, as well as giving them the opportunity to be listed here as they have the playing time. So what's very important is this is an even playing time league. So starting from the left and moving over, the first important part is, let's say these first 5 people, RJ, Braden, Kosi, Jackson, and Lincoln, were my first starters. On the top line of 1, I need to make sure that these 5 people get listed as playing time on the first portion of the number 1 side. Now, at the subs, because we have equal playing time, if the player comes in, now Chris, Brandon, and Cam would get that second tick, right? And now we know that at a minimum, each one of these players got 50% playing time. You'll also notice on this roster, there's only 9 people instead of 10. So one additional person, let's call it RJ, might get the second portion of the playing time. So there, now we have that even playing time. We have 10 players that played in the first quarter. RJ was the only one to get double time, and he may get less time in the second or third quarter. That's important from our perspective to make sure that if any coaches come back and say, hey, the other team didn't play 2 of their players equally, then we'll have a tracking right here to let them know that that is complete. Okay, so we have the playing time set up over here. The next important thing is the foul count. So as you know, each player gets 5 fouls in a game, and we need to make sure that those are associated with the fouls that they are given. So let's say that RJ, the referee indicates, hey, we've got a foul on number 5, White. What we need to do is go here again in numerical order to 5, White, and we will give RJ a foul there. Let's say later in the game, Kosi gets a technical foul. If Kosi gets a technical foul, we need to do the tech here because players are allowed to have 2 techs before they are ejected from the game. And a technical foul also carries with it a personal foul, so we will move that here as well. Also, while we're talking about fouls, it's very important to understand and know when the team gets into the bonus. So what we also need to do in the same instance is if RJ were to receive a foul, we need to go down to the first half team fouls and we need to add his number to the first foul. And then Kosi received a technical foul, so number 13 would receive the second personal foul. Why this is important is at some point, if we just filled in, some additional numbers here, 20, 25, 91, 47, right? When we get to the bonus, this is important. So if number 30 gets to the bonus, this is when we go to the 1-and-1, okay? So the referee is going to go to the 1-and-1. Now, inevitably, a coach is going to have a comment that is going to say something to the effect of, There's no way we already have 7 fouls, right? That's impossible. You can easily go back to it and say 5, 13, 20, 25, 91, 47, and 30. That way it's very clear to them that there were actually 7 fouls committed, and we know that we're in the one-on-one, and so that is the correct level. So this is very important to make sure that you have those numbers. While we're also talking about reporting, the other thing that's important is to record any timeouts. So let's say the coach called a timeout at 2:54 in the first quarter. I want to do my first timeout at 2:54 in the first quarter by coach, right? So this is so that as we get towards the end of the game, if there's a discrepancy on when timeouts were called or how many were already called or how many they have left, we have a very distinct recording of, no, the coach called one at 2:54, another one in the second period, another one in the third period, and so he only had one left in the fourth period to call. So that's very clear and articulate. Now, the other thing that's super important is obviously the points. Everybody is very concerned about making sure that we have a good recording about 2s versus 3s. And one of the major discrepancies that we have is, hey, we made that foul shot, or hey, we missed that foul shot. And that will come into difference as there's 1 or 2 point discrepancies or it's a very close game. So I want to make sure that I'm very clear about how we do that. It's very clear and articulate in each one of these that we want to make sure that each one of the players gets credit for exactly what they did. So as we're going along the game, let's assume that Braden made a 3-pointer. The referee is going to hold up white 9 3-points, right? What we will do here is we will list the 3-pointer as a 3 in the first quarter, okay? Let's say later in the game, Jackson gets to the line and he gets to shoot 2 free throws in the first quarter, right? The way that I prefer to do this so that we make sure there's no discrepancy on this is 1s or 0s. So I will start with the 0, right? So he gets 2 free throws. I'll create 2 0s, and then I will literally fill it in if he makes it, or I will leave it blank if he misses it. That way, later in the game, if somebody says, oh, no, Jackson made both his free throws, I said, no, actually, when he got to the line, he shot and he made his first and he missed his second. So I've got 2 foul shots that were awarded to him, 1 he made, which gets filled in, or 1 that's blank, and that goes from there. Also, 2s are just as you would expect. So if Kosi in the second quarter made a 2-pointer, let's go ahead and add that. Right? So we have the capability of adding 3s, 2s, or the free throws. Also, the most important thing along the lines of the scoring is making sure that the individual score is listed so that we know exactly who made what. That way we can come back and say, I know for sure Chris made a layup in the third quarter, but it wasn't listed. There's a discrepancy there, right? What we also do here is make sure that this score matches up with how the flow of the game goes as well. So if Braden made the first 3-pointer, I am going to come up here and I'm going to tick out the 3. I'm not going to do the 1. I'm not going to do the 2 because it was a 3-pointer to start. So that allows me to know that the 3-pointer happened first, right? Let's say the free throws happened next and Jackson made his first free throw. I will add 1 point to the total score up here, showing that the first basket was a 3, the next one was the free throw, and then later on, if Kosi made a 2, I will add that tick mark here to the 2-pointer. This is important because, somebody will eventually say, hey, we made a layup before we made the free throw, and I'll say, nope, first came the 3-pointer, then was the free throw attempt, then was the layup after that. And we have a very clear, distinct movement along those lines, okay? Important to note down here below is after these team fouls only count for each half. So at the end of the first half, we literally go ahead and start over, and second half fouls would be where we would start next. So in this particular instance, if another foul happened, let's say Gus fouled in the second quarter, I'm going to go down to 91 and we'll move on from there, okay? I think that completes what we need to show you about this particular environment here and what we need listed. If there are any mistakes or additions, I will probably add a supplementary video, but this should at least get you started on how we want to do that. One final thing on score that I typically like to do at the end of each quarter, I like to just pull this up and say, hey, we had 4 points at the second quarter, right? At the end of the half, we ended up with 6 points, right? That way I know I'm on to the next one. And then what we'll do is we'll record, the final point score. So as this goes on, maybe we get to 17 points here, and then we get to a final of 26 points. I'll circle that big score, and then I will also put win 26-14, right? That way this team gets credit for the win at 26-14. The other team would have 14 there. Hopefully this concludes the video, and if there's any other questions, please do reach out and we'll be glad to answer them.